on that list of goals, you don't have making money. What happened? You don't have, pay the rent or anything?
All right. Dun, 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 dun.
Are we on?
I believe so.
This is our bumper music.
That's it. That was
That's what Scott Adams does.
That's right. It's good enough for him, man.
Yeah, good enough for him. And he's wealthy enough to buy his own.
Yeah.
Stuff if you want to, but he's not going to do that.
That's right. Hey, everybody! This is the Jimmy Doan Show.
Once again, here it is, 4:00.
That's right.
Sunday. This will be the last one this month.
That's right. This is October 28th.
28, 29, 30, 31. No. The 31st is Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We have a scary Halloween.
Scary Halloween. That's right.
That's right.
And
we do this twice a week, ladies and gentlemen, at 4:00, Sundays and Wednesdays. We've been very consistent about it, so I hope you join us. You should have a Facebook stream here, which you can comment on, and we will see it shortly thereafter. So thanks for joining us, and please.
There's no real delay to go up to Facebook, is there?
It's like there's a little bit to something. I may have it built into our software here.
Okay.
I'll have to shimmy it out at some point, but. All right, here we are.
Okay, well, today is the 28th, Sunday, and October, getting ready for Halloween. But I'm not going to talk a lot about this. I got a couple of things here to chit-chat about. But the big news, of course, it's just been 24/7 is the shooting.
The synagogue.
The synagogue shooting. How many people were shot up?
At least 11 killed or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was really... But, of course, it's blamed on Trump.
Well, I don't...
there were people that said the rhetoric,
I know, but I think those people these days are... it's like, there's a group of people who everybody knows...
Right.
Sunrises, sunsets, whatever it is, it's going to be Trump.
Right.
And, Holocaust, whatever,
right.
Nuclear, whatever, it's going to be Trump. And so...
That's right. He started the Civil War.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so anyway,
and ended it.
And ended it, right. No, it is tragic, and of course he did pay homage. It was interesting. Mrs. Jimmy, of course, is a Kool-Aid drinker for Trump, and she wanted to make sure she watches all the rallies live when they're live on it. He's doing a lot of them, and so it turned out that he was in Air Force One, and when you heard about the shooting, and the question was, should he go back and pay homage and so forth, and and he said no, it's more important that I do the rally, so he did.
Well, I mean. And also, I mean, it would be seen as a grandstanding thing.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh yeah.
It's not like he needs to stop anything. The harm's already done. The guy's already got whatever. This was horrible.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the only thing you can do.
He did pay about a 10-minute homage at the beginning of the speech and the rally and wherever it was, I forget. But so anyway, she was all excited about that. And no more rallies until Wednesday for her, so she's upset, a little upset. Yeah, she didn't want to watch the old ones. And the other thing, of course, was the pipe bombs.
Yes.
Now, we talked a lot about that already, right? Did we?
No,
we didn't.
It hadn't happened yet.
Okay. The political left has been known to orchestrate.
No, that's right. It just happened. We didn't find out who done it yet.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to take us here. Here we go. Whoops. That's all right. There we go.
Okay, good. So it turned out, of course, that the fellow was. There's so many things that are wrong with this.
Every time I see a crazy person in the news, the first thing I think of is, please not Florida, please not Florida, please not.
Right.
Well, and then it's usually Florida.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that if you ever get a chance, one of the great websites that I watch every once in a while is Dave Barry. He has a blog, and he posts every day to this blog. And it's really weird stuff that he finds, and every once in a while there's something that'll be totally weird, and he'll say, and with the name of the state is ...
That's right.
And he talked about the drivers in Miami. He's of course he lives down there.
Yeah.
But still, it says it's just
no.
Really
we own crazy.
Yeah,
here. They tried Pittsburgh. Good try.
Good try. Yeah, but not good enough.
No. We got the
so no, we had the van, and it wouldn't have driven 10 minutes without somebody stopping them with all the windows covered up. And, with the brand new stickers.
Kind of reminds you of somebody in Defuniac.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So anyway, the deal is that they
got him.
They got him almost immediately.
Right.
And they got the van right away. And they had it was interesting that the news helicopter following the FBI flatbed truck. They had covered the van with a tarp. This was the news. The news was they were following. Reminded me a little bit of the OJ thing, where he's
the slow speed.
Slow speed. Right.
We're following this van.
We're following this van, and it's flapping a little bit, and you can kind of see the tire. And it was just it was fun. So anyway,
well, it's news, and it's definitely. I mean.
Well, the thing is,
nothing went
there's no proof that any Democrat or was hoping to cast suspicion on Republican supporters to suggest it to voters in less than 2 weeks before the midterms that Trump or the GOP rhetoric incites violence, and there's no proof of that. They tried a little bit.
Right. Well, we've had violence forever.
Yeah.
And rhetoric for not that long.
Well, anyway, the report goes on to say that the CNN bomb package was addressed to former CIA Administrator John Brennan, who's actually a commentator at MSNBC, and adds gratuitously that Brennan is a harsh critic of Mr. Trump, and because he revoked his security clearance, maybe that was the reason for the bomb sales, something like that. Okay, but one of the things that was fascinating about this is this was a non-story.
Which?
The bombing business, as far as I was concerned.
Why did he say?
Because there was nothing. I mean, they weren't live. They weren't going to blow up. They were.
We don't know that yet. I think they were live bombs. Look, this was they weren't good bombs.
They were the
right.
worst
They
bomb
were the
ever.
worst bombs ever. And it was the worst strategy ever, and that's why he got busted. I mean, the guy's probably psychotic. Look, those
fingerprints, they caught him with his finger.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know. Apparently, I mean, there's some rumors, whatever. I've read he abuses steroids and whatever, and that somehow can impair your mental state. Look,
Was impaired.
well, clearly.
Well, apparently he did have a history of let's say antisocial behavior, quite a big history apparently.
I guess so.
He'd been arrested a couple of times before, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and blocked on Twitter or whatever. He was blocked on Twitter. It's horrifying. But yeah, look, anybody. This is a super outlier. This is like you say. 4 or 5 standard deviations out in terms of behavior of humans. Nobody does this kind of stuff. And to even think, I mean, look, he's going to get life in prison for this kind of stuff.
Probably,
I mean, pipe bombs for all the leaders. I mean, come on. Even if they were fake pipe, drawings of pipe bombs, he just sent to all the leaders, you would go to prison for
Really?
Yeah, they would call it conspiracy to commit something and substantial steps or something. Yeah, look, seriously, hideously bad. So
are you telling me that if I go on the internet, the interweb, and do a search for how to make a pipe bomb, and it shows you precisely how to make it, and I do a screen print and bundle it up and send it to somebody,
that could be construed as a substantial step towards a plan of intended harm. And that's all you need. A substantial step. Yeah.
I won't be doing that.
Well, nobody does that. I mean, like,
let's not get carried away.
No, they don't. Even the super prankster people, if you're a super prankster person, you pulled a lot of pranks in your life. And one of the things that you realize over the years is that there are a few lines that you don't want to cross in the prank universe. And one of those is where the prankee there's a span of time during which they believe their life is in danger.
Okay.
That prank is gone too far, and it's like the old prank where you tell somebody that their relative has died or whatever. That prank sucks because there's a period of time where they believe there's a horrifying thing.
Right.
You want to.
Your child's been kidnapped.
Right. That's a horrible prank. You want the opposite. You've won the $1 million or something. Okay, then if you don't have it, okay. But this is. This is not a prank. Obviously, this guy tried to do some type of harm. I believe. I mean, you know, it's still remotely possible.
Well, of course, the jury's still out on so much of this stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you from the standpoint of behavior, there is so few people who will go to the lengths that this person has done to create the impression of an attack. Way off the charts. Way off the charts.
I can buy that. I'll buy that. One of the things that I just mentioned, of course, was the fact that you send a picture, for instance, of something, or maybe you send a picture of the bowling ball bomb. You know.
Yeah. Well, a normal person could do that.
Okay. Totally. I was going to say, because right now they handcuff kids or whatever. If you point a finger at, if you're in the first grade and you go bangy bang. Boy, they call the parents up and come on and your kid's out of control.
Well, all you have to know is that a lot of those cases have been ruled on by the Supreme Court and by appellate courts, which implies necessarily that they were cases that lost at the lower court level. Okay, so there were times when there were jokes made and people were arrested for those jokes. Now, there's a famous case about a guy giving a speech on campus, and he starts talking about getting a gun and shooting somebody, and they whoop woo and take him down. And now he wins his case ultimately on appeal.
Right.
A couple of years later or something. But so that's just a gray area, and you get into the weeds real fast in terms of that. Like you said, sending the picture, the word bomb, okay, that's one level. The picture of the thing.
Be careful now, this is going out live.
The bowling ball, right, exactly.
Muslim, terrorist, jihadi.
No, 9/11, yeah. So, we got Scott. Hey, Scott. That's you don't want to be doing that. Anything even remotely close to that. This guy's going away for a long, long time.
Okay, and it's It's just going to be interesting that he's going to go to a rape room prison, probably.
They're all rape room prisons.
Well,
that's what we got.
Yeah, I know. All right. Next up. Speaking of things like this, a Russian woman was accused Friday of a sweeping effort to sway American public opinion through social media in the first federal case alleging foreign interference in the 2018 election. The Justice Department unsealed a criminal complaint on the same day that U.S. intelligence agencies, in a rare public statement, asserted that Russia, China, Iran, and other countries were engaged in continuous efforts to influence American policy in the upcoming elections and beyond. Mm-hmm. The U.S. is concerned that foreign campaigns to undermine the confidence in democratic institutions and influence public sentiment and government policies.
I wish I had the clip from Casablanca right now.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. That's the Justice Department prosecution targets Elena Alexeyevna, or whatever it is, and causing division. So, and what is so ironic about this is that the United States, with the CIA, does nothing but interfere in every single election. I mean, hundreds of them. That's us, yeah, right.
We're doing it for the right
reasons. That we
reasons.
send in armed people to usurp power and kill people.
No, it's been decades since we did that. Or a decade.
A decade, or 10 years.
It's been years.
That's right. I just think it's funny this girl, whoever she is, she's been under investigation for quite some time. Now they finally decided to. You kind of wonder what the charge is going to be and what the penalty might be. What are they going after?
Well, this is one of those example cases.
I suppose.
So they'll charge her with the most hideous thing they can think of.
What would that be?
Terrorism or something.
Terrorism?
Yeah, some kind of election terrorism or something.
Election terrorism.
I'm telling you, man, it'll be something crazy like that.
See, because election begins with electric. And so
that's it.
And that's what you're talking about, electrocution.
Yeah. And her plea deal will be. I don't know how it'll ultimately end up, but I mean they'll offer her the 5 or 10 year deal. Hey, you can have a great time.
And then of course the way you do is then it takes a couple of years to go through the appeals process.
Yeah.
And when they so. All right. Well, at any rate, moving along on the 2020 election, South Carolina was the site of one Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders' most humiliating defeats in his 2016 presidential run. He received just 26% of the vote in the early primary, presaging a shutout in the South that virtually assured Hillary Clinton the Democratic nomination. What's interesting, he decided to go to South Carolina and campaign, knowing that they don't. Ahead of the political rally last Saturday, there were signs that the state remained unwelcoming terrain for Sanders. Two of the state's veteran Democratic officials carped in the press that he should get lost, quote unquote, arguing that a visit was unhelpful in the conservative state where the party's candidates usually compete by attacking the center. But when he walked into the University of South Carolina stage, in the adulation of 1,000 supporters waving "Medicare for y'all" placards, it was clear that they shared it. They shared it. So anyway, and what this article says is, welcome to the 2020 Democratic presidential primary in a warm-up for an anticipated second run by Sanders.
Mm-hmm. All he's got to do is go to college after college after college.
Yeah, pretty much. And he swings that began in Bloomington, Indiana, and wraps up in Oakland, California this Saturday. Let's see, I don't know if that's yesterday or this coming Saturday, but he'll be joined on the last stop by Representative Barbara Lee of California, who is like a screaming socialist type leftist person.
Well, you said of California.
Of California, yeah, that's right. But I repeat myself. And she's running for the chair of the House Democratic Congress. So what I thought at the end is I say to President Donald Trump that this country has struggled for too many years, for too many centuries, in combating racism and sexism and homophobia and xenophobia, Sanders declared. We are not going backwards, we are going forwards.
That's right.
As one people.
That's right. Upwards, not downwards.
Upwards, not downwards. Right out of The Simpsons. Oh my gosh, it's so great. But I mean, what is funny is that they always have, all the candidates say, I'm going to bring the country together.
Well, you got to.
I know, look, but it's a joke. You can't do that. It's not going to happen. We're too disparate. No, look, they split right down, damn sure down the middle in the voting.
Well, yeah, but there are.
You're not going to bring this town together, for instance.
I disagree. I think that the differences among the groups are surmountable. I don't think that they're. Yeah, they are, because it's about life experience and we're at a time now where there's this incredible sharing of information as never before.
Right, that's true.
And people are learning about one another's lives in ways that are unprecedented. The familiarity, you get to see, all these long form discussion formats have popped up everywhere, and now you're getting real interviews for hours at a time with regular people everywhere, versus what we had just a decade ago, which was 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Do you want to hear two sides? Great, we got one guy for 5 minutes, another guy for 5 minutes. Go to commercial. That's it. And now it's 1 hour, or stuff like that. There's a ton of communication. People are learning more about everybody all the time, and they're also seeing where the money goes. Everybody now can see where the money comes from, where it goes, a lot more clearly than they used to be able to. I think that's bringing out the differences in us as we figure those things out, as people communicate about them and sort of squabble about them. But I gotta think that maybe they're not convincing one another, but the people who are watching these conversations are forming opinions, I think, which are more informed than ever before. And
unfortunately, I believe that's a low minority of the people in this country that actually care about stuff like that.
Well,
and you can tell that from the voting. When you see voting here in town, 20% turnout, and as I mentioned to one of our city commissioners here, whether you remember it or not, in the district that you ran, over 80% of the people did not vote for you.
Mm-hmm.
and yet you're sitting here quote representing them.
Right. Well, I think another huge factor that is contributing to the strife and the conflict and everything and the rhetoric is the concept that, and also the apathy that you see from voters not voting, is because in the old days the government didn't control a huge swath of your life, and so it didn't matter so much. You didn't necessarily have to pay attention.
No, that's true.
Now,
that's true.
Every little decision has some impact on you personally.
Well, they micromanage everything. That's the thing. It didn't used to.
Constitutional amendments, which talk about the pigs out in your backyard and such. So you sort of, more and more people are getting dragged into that fray that they didn't want to be in the first place.
Right.
They'd rather just go to their jobs and have their families and do that kind of stuff and have a regular life and not have to worry about that. But so I think it's a dual thing. More people getting dragged into it, but I think that they'll figure it out faster and will.
Well, I'm not so sanguine as you are. I tell you the truth. I think that what's happened is we still have these attention spans of people that's very limited. I mean, you see that in a lot of instances where they'll read the headline, and then that's it. We'll move on to the next headline. And when you think about people trying to survive on a day-to-day basis, they go to work, maybe the husband and wife both go to work, they got other things to worry about than sit down and watch a 1 hour one-on-one C-SPAN thing. I mean, those are very few people that do that. And they end up being, when you talk about, on both sides, the demagoguery on both sides, it's sound bites, it's bumper sticker talk. We're coming up on our election here, and here locally, when you see the signs in the yard,
vote yes on two.
Vote yes on two. I mean, what are you talking about?
Okay, and I agree with you on all of those points. What I'm saying is that it's less like that than it used to be.
I disagree.
Well, you think about it now. If you want to know what yes on two means, you can Google it. If you want to know what
if you want to know what it is,
I know.
And what you'll do is you will find the one or two sentences, and you see this in one of the things we're going to go to here in a little while is our neighborhood potluck dinner or whatever it is, neighborhood thing. And what you find is that when you saw the vote no on this or vote yes on this, on Amendment 1, Amendment 2, whatever, there's like 2 or 3 sentences. Or maybe even more, and that's the attention span. It's 5 pages long, but the proponents have their 2 or 3 sentences, and the other people have their 2. And then of course you see the ad on television where they have the little girl that sits there and she says, "Vote for me, not for thee," or something, or whatever.
Or I'll die in a horrible gunfight.
Well, this was the education.
Well, okay, right. Scott, by the way, agrees with you. Not coming together.
Okay. Yes. Of course he does.
All right. What else we got?
Okay. The next thing is the caravan.
Mm-hmm.
Now this will be kind of interesting. On Mexico on Friday offered temporary identification papers and jobs to migrants who register for asylum in the country, stepping up efforts to halt the advance of U.S.-bound Central American caravan that has angered Washington, i.e. Trump. Angered Washington. Making reference to the caravan, Mexican President Peña Nieto, whatever, said that migrants wishing to obtain temporary identification documents, jobs, or education for their children could do so by registering for asylum in southern Mexico. The plan is only for those who comply with Mexican laws, which is kind of interesting in a way, because here in this country, by virtue of crossing the border, you have not complied with U.S. laws.
Right, it's the same in Mexico.
Well, except for the fact that he's given a go-ahead.
Well, this is just...
But anyway, so to qualify for this scheme, which he called Estás tu casa, make yourself at home, migrants had to be in the southern states of the 2 of them, and temporary work in the states would be extended so as to benefit Mexicans. And interestingly enough, he's made this proclamation, and he leaves office as president in 30 days. Bye-bye. That's right. So he's out of there. But I thought it was interesting that if this article goes on to say that a lot of them are saying, no, not good enough. We're on our way. We want better life. This may be better than what we left, but it's not as good as what we're going to get in the United States. And I think that pretty much the United States people have made it crystal clear that they're supposedly not going to allow.
They're deploying the sup with camel.
Well, yes, strafe the crowd.
That's right.
I'm reminded of when you see all the World War II movies. And you see the caravan of trucks, the snakes along the road, and the guys in the Spitfire, and he's, or the train or whatever it is. So we're probably not going to do that, but at least what you would do is in this thing called the Peacemaker, there was one, and what they do is they blew up the bridge ahead of the thing. So you couldn't go any further. That's what you do with your sop with camel is you straight out there in front, to turn a little dirt. But anyway, the point is, it's interesting that a fair chunk of them. Now, the other question is, a lot of people have done the math, and walking in your flip-flops, or even riding in trucks, or blah blah blah, whatever it is. I mean, to do this, it's like walking from New York to New Mexico. And how long would it take you to do it, even at 8 hours, 10, 12 hours a day, and not to mention kids, water, defecation, the whole deal. We're talking 3 months.
Well, 3 weeks at least. It would be after the election, is what you're getting at, right?
Oh, for sure, no question.
Okay, so but they're getting rides and stuff, so.
Well, even so, but still, think about it. I don't. If we drive, I mean drive, pedal to the metal, out to California from here. It takes It takes at least 3 days.
Right.
So
It's 1,000 miles. I think 25 miles a day is sort of walking speed.
Well, at 4 miles an hour times 10 hours is 40 miles.
Right.
Okay,
so,
40 or 50 miles. Okay.
Yeah, but I put them at 25 because they're not walking constantly. Like you said, kids in water.
You got to poop.
Right. Yeah.
You got to brush your teeth.
Right. Well, you got to take a break because you got
to take a break. And of course, you got to think about it. It's not like it's air conditioned walking.
Yeah.
This is heat stroke weather.
Yeah. Well, they're probably more used to it than us.
Yeah. They're used to it because they take a siesta in the afternoon in the shade, for God's sakes. I mean, you don't go to work from 1 to 4.
Mm-hmm. So what's your point there? So what? So what if they're getting rides? So what? I mean,
they're not going to make it.
They're going to make it, and then there's the hurricane, of course. It's coming in.
Well, and speaking of the hurricane, how about the airplane called the Hurricane? That's the one that.
Oh, right.
That would be a good strafer. So anyway, no, the deal is that...
I say let him in, homestead him in Texas, man.
Well, actually, interesting you should mention that. Somebody did come up with that idea.
Aha!
I was yes, with your idea. I was sitting there thinking, my God, somebody must have heard, Counselor Curtis on the show, because what he said was, mark off, as you talked about, mark off 100 square miles in the desert. This is your new country.
That's it.
And homestead it, and you're on your own. You're going to have to set up your own police force and everything like that.
That's right.
And
we'll set up a GoFundMe page.
Right. And or you can set up your own GoFundMe page.
Well, yeah. Well,
we're not going to do it. But and we'll run the. What we'll do is we'll have Google or somebody run the fiber optics to the border.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's
right to the border of your town.
Yeah, right. And so what we'll do is we'll have the pipes for the sewer and the pipes for the water. They'll go right to the border, and then you're on your own. Mm-hmm. And but I thought it was interesting that somebody else came up with this same idea because we have to look at what's the alternative at this point.
That's it, man. They're going to be sitting right outside the fence every day. A new kid interviewed by CNN. Yeah. And it's just going to be the ultimate Occupy the Border movement. Yeah. I mean, or they'll process them and let a bunch of them in and deport the rest. I mean, it's not that many people overall, really. Yeah. But
and of course the thinking is that a chunk of them aren't going to make it.
Right. Yeah, you got to figure, man. That's
there's a bunch of them that you've seen them on the flatbed trucks and everything, but there's still a bunch of them that are walking. Yeah. And I mean, you got your kids with you, and you got your backpack, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. But to me, those are the people that I would like to have.
Yeah. As long as, and it was interesting, somebody else came up with my suggestion, which was to absolutely cut off any subsidized, there's no education. You don't get to go to the emergency room.
Well, you wonder what it was worth to as we talked about before. Would you be willing to sign a waiver?
Right.
All the federal benefits, everything from whatever, federal, state, local, in exchange for not being kicked out and,
Right.
and your patch of grass, dirt,
Yeah,
sand.
that's right. Sand, right? Look, hey, if the Arabians can
Hey,
do
it's better
it,
than the sand you used to have.
yeah, I guess right. This is
was
U.S.
none.
This is U.S. sand. So San Francisco in November will become the largest city in the nation to allow non-citizens to a chance to vote in a local election, making the city a flashpoint for the conservatives versus the libs and everything. This is California, of course.
San Francisco, you say?
San Francisco, yes, hard to believe. Yes, okay, yes, yes, there you are. That's what I said. San Francisco. Non-citizens, including those without legal status, will be allowed to vote only, interestingly enough, in the school board race.
What?
Yes.
Why only in the school board?
No idea. And only 40 people so far have signed up to vote.
Yeah, I saw 49. I saw.
Well, whatever. Yeah. Oh, it's exploding.
Right.
It's
right.
exploding. You know.
Well, apparently they paid $300,000 to set it up, so that's $6,000 a person
Yeah,
per
I
register.
didn't know that. But anyway, California's gone further than any state. Now, I wonder, what's the difference between further and farther?
The difference is further is in your mind,
Okay.
and farther is actual distance.
Okay.
You throw the
So
rock further.
they've gone further than any other state in offering opportunities for those here illegally, including providing special driver's licenses, college tuition breaks, and child health care. Voting has been a more sensitive topic, but the experts, I always put them in quotes, said it fits both the larger political trends in California as well as conservative backlash. So, just California once again.
Right. Well, so what do you think about the voting for non-citizens?
It's bullshit.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, there is-
let me think. Here's the thing. It used to be freeholders could vote. Women couldn't vote.
Right. You're talking about landholders.
Landholders, right?
Right.
Freeholders. You had to own. And if you were
Are
going to
you,
vote,
you want to go back to the good old days when women?
yes, yes,
Get that
that's
out.
right.
Come
Yeah,
on,
I'm
man.
okay. I will
It
allow.
was your great grandfather who introduced the women's suffrage movement into the Senate. You know that, right?
Yes. No, I didn't know that.
I think,
That's right. He was a senator back then.
Yeah.
Because that would have been 1919.
someone right around then.
Right
yeah.
around then, he was in the Senate, right? Because he didn't become a Supreme Court justice until 21 or 22,
Yeah.
or 22, I think.
Something like that.
At any rate, the deal is that no, I wouldn't go back that far.
Okay.
The only time I would go back further than that is to go back and unpass the Federal Reserve Act,
Right.
and that would be you have to go back to 1913 for that. But anyway, the suffrage would still come along, no problem. Women, okay, ladies, if you want to vote. Okay, I'm telling you how to vote. No, right now, as you know, Mrs. Jimmy tells me how to vote.
It's all
it
been
is
flipped around
It
now.
is exactly the other way. I was a non-voter for so many years, and she said, "If you don't get on this, I'm thinking,
That's it.
I am doomed."
Yeah. But what about the theory? There's a legal theory that's oft tossed around about if you're in the jurisdiction, then you're subject to the laws, obviously,
I see.
and then so therefore, should you not be entitled to constitutional protections, which has now been granted to people inside the jurisdiction?
Okay.
And then B, does that include voting just because you're here? And
Well, I don't believe there's a right to vote, is there?
Well, no.
It may be a state by state thing, but I don't think that federally there's a right to vote.
Yeah, no, there's not. I think, it's just sort of built into our structure, the relative voting systems.
Well, but the thing about one of the problems, of course, you have is there are certain things that, as you say, if you're going to tax property, it seems to me that only those people that own property ought to be able to vote for that.
Right. Well, and there is always a question of the jurisdiction of taxing authorities.
Right.
For example, there's a fight usually between the county and the city.
Not only that, we have other jurisdictions like the library. We have the fire, the municipal services. You know, they have a little around Gainesville. We have a donut of not either one, and you in those areas you get to do
Unincorporated county
right? Yeah,
areas.
exactly right.
Yeah, well,
It's called the MSTU, the Municipal Services Taxing Unit, or something like that.
Well, it obviously we were built on the concept of no taxation without representation.
Right.
And of course, when you're even just in a jurisdiction in the United States, if you're buying something, you're going to pay sales tax. So
right, but the thing about sales tax that's kind of nice is that it is still voluntary.
Well, yes. I mean, because you don't have to buy the thing.
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, nobody's going to show up with a gun,
Right.
if you don't buy something,
Right.
Unless it's health care,
Right. Yeah.
they got rid of that. But,
Yeah, they did.
But
So, well, it's an interesting legal theory. I don't think you can just summarily count out the concept of if you're in the jurisdiction, you get to vote. At least in some areas, like this, I guess San Francisco, just the school board. Okay, what harm are they going to possibly do? I mean, what can the school board do?
actually, if it's anything like our school board, they can do quite a bit.
Huge.
I mean, really, they have destroyed our school system here. They have the school board. No, they don't. They're
Well, are they a taxing authority?
absolutely. In fact, if you look on your tax, we're getting ready to get our tax.
Right.
bill.
Well, I knew that there was tax allocated to them, but I didn't know
Well,
if
no,
they
it's
were
a
the
separate
ones.
line item.
Okay, right, but I didn't know if they were the ones who implemented it somehow.
Well, let me just think. It's a good. Yes, they have the ability to set their own.
Probably within a millage rate or something.
They have a millage rate. That's right. And of course, that's one of the reasons why in this election next week or whenever it is, there's this half cent which they're going to have to vote on for sales tax, half cent sales tax. Then we're supposed to have a half cent millage increase also for the children. Yeah, both of them for the
Well, it's
children.
always for the children.
That's always for the children.
Always
That's
for
right.
the children. Children need lots of money.
Yeah. Well, they're not voting. Screw them.
Scott says, some day we'll be able to vote by computer or smartphone, security by something or thumbprint. He said Republicans will fight this all the way.
Who knows?
That?
I mean, I would guess that I could be wrong, but I would guess that there would be a fair chunk contingent of people, not necessarily Republicans or Democrats or conservatives or liberals, that might want to fight it.
Well, sure.
Because they're worried about fraud for openers.
Well, sure. I mean, you got to figure there'd be some group like that. I think what his suggestion is that Republicans feel as though an addition to the voter rolls is a detriment to them. Is a benefit to the Democrats. And I disagree, especially if you're talking about smartphones.
Right.
Those. Right.
Well,
not poor people or.
Well, you say that, but that's not true. I mean, you go into any ghetto area and they're wearing $300 tennis shoes.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of a allocation of resources thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. But
Certainly as a percentage, you got to figure the rich people have more smartphones.
But it's rich people that vote like Bezos and those people that are all libs.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's
the Hollywood people. And
well, there's those rich people, but then there's the other side of the rich. There's the Rupert Murdochs and the.
Okay, well, the Rupert Murdoch. I don't know if you could put an S on
What about all
that.
the rich bankers and that we always hear about the
Even the hedge fund people.
Yeah.
No, they were. When they did a tally on who contributed, it was like a 60-1 for Hillary.
Well, the rich people got to be split 50-50 because you got to figure there's.
And of course, what constitutes rich? The simple fact is that in this day and age, if you're worth $1 million, you're not rich.
We started with cell phone owners,
Right? Okay, cell phone owners, and there's a lot of them.
Yes, I think you're right, Scott. I think we will eventually vote. I think it'd be great if we could vote by internet. I think we will. I think it'll be within a couple of cycles. As soon as everybody feels very secure about the internet. It's really only been 10 years since most people have been on the internet.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things, the security thing. I mean, Facebook and all these people, they get ripped off by millions of people.
Yeah, but we do banking online. I mean,
that's true. Well, yeah, and again, the difference on banking, one of the nice things about banking is that you can go and check on your credit card or deposits or checks, and you can check every day.
Well, that's what they'll do. They'll have a blockchain.
Well, that's a thought. Yeah. Well, okay, I hadn't thought about that. That's pretty secure.
Yeah. Self-verifying.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
and you can check it out.
Then you can check it out.
But then it wouldn't be
anonymous. Of course, as far as I'm concerned, you know, and of course, voting is ostensibly supposed to be anonymous.
Right. They would cut into that, I think, in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's a way. I mean, yeah, like you could have a way you could access how your vote was registered, but I guess that would be. They'll figure it out. I'm confident it won't be too long, and we're not going to have hanging chads for too long. I mean,
no,
hanging chad. That was just a tragedy.
Of course, what they've done
Shout
here,
out to Chad.
they always want to make sure that that there's a paper trail.
Right.
So if you're doing it over your phone, where's the paper trail?
Right. Well, you know, we could have a dual system where you vote online, and then if you want your paper trail, you can mail in your paper ballot as well and get a receipt or something.
Well, you could actually, what you could do is get a receipt right there on your phone.
Yeah. Where you could fax it.
Yeah. Right. What? I don't think so.
Did he say text?
Yeah, right. You can text. Yeah, that's right. You can fax it. Okay. Next item. The Texas Senate race is now the costliest in U.S. history as Beto, whatever, rakes in dollars despite trailing Cruz. Apparently he had pulled in, the campaign finance reports released Friday revealed the cost of the heated contest between Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke has topped $100 million. And apparently
wow.
O'Rourke has gotten the lion's share of that, making it the most expensive Senate race in U.S. history. The Chronicle reported that $110 million haul does not include funds from super PACs, and they're helping Cruz and both the campaigns. So in other words,
wow.
The individual contributions are $110 million. Can you imagine it? I mean, you got to ask yourself why is it, we've talked about this before, why is it worth it? Well, because, I mean, for a job that pays $175,000 a year, but that person has, influence over literally billions of dollars.
Right.
And so you want your guy in there.
Sure.
And it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, because when you look at both of them are kind of flawed.
Candidates?
Yeah, I think so.
I
think by being a candidate they're flawed. If you have enough gumption or ego or whatever it is to run, as far as I'm concerned, right away you're a little demento.
I disagree with that, but I mean, Cruz was kind of wacky during his presidential campaign.
Oh, and of course, and he was pilloried by the Donald.
Well, sure.
Now they're buddies.
Right, but that's
politics.
Yeah, I mean, we totally expect that. And when you look at their accusations against one another, it's these generalizations, lying Ted. Well, okay, sure. We all, if you are on this earth for 70 years or however old he is, 60, I don't know how old he is, 55, and you haven't told a couple of lies, you're a robot or something, I mean, come on. So it's those just get washed away, but he still was he was just kind of a wacky guy. His religious sentiments were intense, and I don't know, I just got that. I get that he's kind of a cartoony character to me, kind of almost like an animated guy, features and stuff.
Of course, you probably don't
Beto.
know. What about Beto? Do you know anything?
The only thing I know about Beto is some of his. I read through his campaign platform and stuff, and he's a Medicare for all, and
okay.
The other platforms that are what I would consider to be
socialist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that I guess, and it's interesting because Texas, has really not been like that.
Well, I thought he was losing his butt. That's why he put this big push in there. Apparently, he was down pretty far for a while, but
maybe when your opponent for a while, apparently, and I think, but now I think he's behind again. Anyway, another 70 million or something like that. But anyway, we'll see. Yeah. Again, we fortunately we don't have long to wait, and we can, and you and I can chit chat about this for, let's see, Wednesday and Sunday. So we have two more. We'll have two more 4 o'clock shows, and then then we'll have the Wednesday after the election where we can really tear it apart.
Say how all our theories really fit into this.
Yeah, right, exactly. We were right on. So anyway, the last thing I've got here, a big reason the U.S. economy is accelerating. Now, one of the things that is interesting because they had everybody's hoorah, 3.5% last quarter growth, GDP up, everything, blah blah blah. And it's all touting and so forth. What people don't realize is it's all because of government. Half of that is because of government spending. A lot of it has to do with defense spending. Now, what people don't realize that part of GDP...
Cut that Saudi Arabia spending. No.
Yeah. No, part of the GDP is government spending, which of course, to me, is like false stuff because that money's going to get... If the government takes it and then spends, especially on something that blows up, that you have to replace it.
Right.
I mean, if you count that as growth, no, not me. I don't count that as growth. But again, remember now, every time the government spends money, it's money that's taken from the profit of human endeavor that would have been spent anyway or saved.
Right.
One or the other.
You have to count it somewhere in the equation, though. I mean, I think you count it in both places. You count it as a reduction, as the taxes and money that wasn't spent, and then you count it as money that wasn't.
This is your double entry bookkeeping.
That's it. That's it.
No, well, I mean, I know that when I took Economics 101, which unfortunately was Keynesian type, it was Samuelson's book, but they had a way to weigh all that stuff out, and they had the graphs and everything. However, the fact is that the government spending is not voluntary.
Right.
Pure and simple, and that's why they're spending $100 million on the election in Texas because whoever is there, when you figure that $4 trillion runs through the Senate one way or the other. Now, a lot of it is only part of it is, quote, discretionary. About half of the government spending is what they call discretionary. Not quite. A third of it, a little more than a third of it is what they call discretionary. The rest of stuff is by statute. Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid are by statute. But the other stuff is supposedly is discretionary. Well, no, it's not really. As soon as you gore somebody's ox, they're going to scream bloody murder. I mean, it's just that the small vocal minority will show up, and the lobbyists will all show up. You can't cut the milk subsidy.
Well, at some point, some oxen are going to get gored, and we'll see when and how that happens.
It'll be, unfortunately, it's going to be chaotic. It'll become, when some of these programs become literally unsustainable.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't think that our politicians have the courage to.
No way. Are you kidding? They got linguini for spines. Come on.
But when you talk about the economy, from my perspective, the economy is not all that hot. I mean, it is and it isn't. That is to say, we've seen this big run-up in the stock market, as we talked about before. It's because of the cheap money that's been pumped into the system, the extra $1 trillion in borrowing every year.
Right, which a lot of that goes into has gone into buoy up the stock market.
That's right. And so now we get these wild fluctuations. We're in correction territory or wherever we're at. I think that at any time we're in danger of having a major crash. And some kind of big reset. So, I don't think the economy's in any great shape or anything.
Well, it can't. Awesome. The simple fact is this: what if all in a socialist society, basically all spending is done by the government? And and you see what happens then, don't you?
Well, that's because the costs spiral out of control because there's no check on the costs because there's no more competition because there's centralized.
Right. Well, as I say, with the government, the money that the government spends is taken at the point of a gun anyway. So I mean that right away says if it's not voluntary, you got problems in River City. So. Well,
yeah. We've talked about that a few times, and we'll get to it. Let's see, I had a couple of quick things here.
Okay.
Just real quick, FBI is continuing to probe Tesla, and now as a criminal investigation.
Really?
Yeah.
Fraud?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a misrepresentation of...
Well, Meaning because when he said the Saudis were going to invest?
No, I think this is deeper than that. It
Okay.
has to do with their projections and that kind of stuff.
Huh.
But we'll see.
The FBA, not the SEC.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of criminal stuff, South Korea has announced that they will arrest their citizens when they return to South Korea if they are found to have been smoking pot in Canada now, or the United States, or anywhere else. They've basically told their citizens, our jurisdiction extends worldwide. It's not legal over here, so if you do it over there, even if it's over there, we're going to arrest you when you come back here for the harm that you didn't do over here because you were high over there.
Now the other question is, how long? Do you know how long it takes to clear out the MJ from your system?
Well, from your bloodstream, it's like 30 days.
Really?
Yeah, which is a long time. But they have even longer ways to test through your hair follicles if you have hair.
I thought that the hair follicles was mostly for the drugs, not for the
I think
marijuana.
I'm pretty sure they can test for marijuana in your hair follicles now.
I question.
I'm not sure 100%.
That.
Yeah, I haven't. It's been a decade or so since I've done criminal defense on that kind of stuff.
Well, the other thing is, but of course, you gotta realize that it seemed to me that would be a trace amount. First of all,
yeah,
if you got the hair, and you would always just say, "Hey, wasn't me. I was in this room, and I have
second hand, man.
Second hand, third hand. I don't know."
Yeah, clap him in irons.
That's it.
That's right. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
The Spanish Inquisition.
That's right. And then finally, a very quick self-driving cars update. Google spin-off Waymo has now announced they're up to 10 million miles.
Really?
Yeah, it's been exponentially growing.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 million and 7 billion virtual miles they have driven.
Okay, that's
7
simulators
billion,
or something.
yeah. And so you can imagine it's learning pretty quick. And I'm just wondering if they get the things very good at being able to drive, will you be able to get into like a super fast car and put it on like scare me mode? Like, I need to get to the airport in 15 minutes. That's right. He does the Batman,
Well, you're communicating with all the other cars.
Well, that's what I mean.
Get out of my way!
That's it, man. I mean,
That's it.
I'm just wondering how far that'll go. So
Yeah, I mean, well, you think about it. If now, of course, you're going to certainly there would certainly be some kind of a throttle on the thing.
well, that's what I'm saying.
But if you can beat that, but
once
the point
car
is,
can do it safely enough,
right? Well, the other thing you think about it is it's thinking about this all the time, and all the other cars are saying, "Shit, I'm getting out of the way."
yeah, or maybe
It's like in Bruce Almighty.
right. Well, that's what the question is. Will some cars be more equal than the other cars?
Right, yes.
Will we have?
Well, you can imagine that the hackers are going to have fun. I mean, if you can,
Your car just pulls over to the side, some motorcycle guy right down the middle
right
of the
down
lane.
middle, that's right.
Yeah, well, it'll probably happen, so I guess we'll see. But all right, hey, well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I mean, Scott. And we'll be back soon.
On Wednesday.
Yes.
4 o'clock.
That's right. Because we are doing that these days. I see we dropped 0 frames again, which is very nice. So the stream looks like it went out quite well in perfection. So
That's good because we had problems with the modem.
for a long
I mean,
time.
today the modem was bad
Scary
news.
tech day. It's like
Yeah.
Halloween tech day.
Yeah, something.
All right. Well,
It's your poltergeist.
that's right. So
End of show. End of show.
End of show.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Oh, that's copyrighted. That tune is copyrighted.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's from Black Sabbath. I don't know.
Oh okay. All right. Yeah. I'm so glad we had this time together. All right. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.